Hey everybody, it's Sunday and it's going to be a very busy Sunday for me with 2 videos and 2 streams to do today. Let's get right into things here, our regular Sunday videos. It's time for Games of the Week, where I look ahead to the upcoming week in the NHL and pick out which games I think are going to be the best, most fun, most exciting to watch. So before we begin, I just ask you to please subscribe and hit that thumbs up. If you haven't yet, it helps the channel a ton and is very much appreciated. But let's get right into things here. Games of the week, let's take a look. As you can see, a big week in the NHL this week. A lot of great matchups starting today, Sunday the 28th. We've got Boston versus the New York Rangers. These two teams played the other night, and New York destroyed the Bruins. It wasn't even close. Bruins will be looking for revenge. Very physical games against each other for these teams. They don't like each other. Big matchup. Boston's been slumping lately. They need to try and get themselves on track. I expect a very physical game, very hard-fought game, and overall a really fun one to watch. We also have the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders. The New York Islanders have had a very, very good season this year, except when they play the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh has owned the Isles for some reason here. Just one of those things where every time they play, it seems like Pittsburgh's able to pull it out. They just won in overtime last night. They play again the second half of a back-to-back today. Gonna be a fun one. We'll see if the Isles can pick up a win finally, or if the Penguins keep on dominating them. And also today, we have Washington versus New Jersey. These two teams also just played yesterday. Washington won that game. They're playing again today. Big points on the line. New Jersey's a team that was trying to make a push and pull themselves into playoff contention, or at least in the conversation. But recently, the last week or so, they've kind of fallen back off a little bit. So that's a big game. Capitals need to win those kind of games, and we'll see what happens today. Moving on to tomorrow, March 1st, Monday. Can you believe it's March already? It's absolutely insane how fast this season's going by, in my opinion. But we have the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers, two of the best teams in the Central Division, both having really, really good years, playing really, really well. Two top-tier teams going at it here, so that one is going to be a lot of fun. Minnesota versus Vegas, two of the top teams in the West. I mean, Vegas has been there all year long. Minnesota, kind of a surprise this year, but they have been absolutely on fire here recently, and we'll see if they can carry that momentum into a game against the division-leading Vegas Golden Knights and really kind of take it to them, and that's going to be a fun game to see who's able to come out on top there. And Toronto versus Edmonton. I mean, two best teams in the North Division. Right now, definitely the two best teams in the North Division. These teams did play yesterday. Toronto got the upper hand in that one. They are dealing with some injuries right now. Austin Matthews did not play, which definitely hurts the Maple Leafs, but they were able to win without him. I expect a big pushback from the Oilers on tomorrow night's game. I don't think they're just going to roll over and let the Leafs steamroll them for 3 straight games. So expect the Oilers to come out firing tomorrow night. I think that should be a really good game. Tuesday, the 2nd. Tuesday, March 2nd, we have the Philadelphia Flyers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, do I really need to say much about that? It's the Battle of Pennsylvania. Two of the biggest rivals in the NHL, Flyers, Penguins. They absolutely hate each other. And with the playoff standings looking like they are, there's a really big 2 points on the line in that game. So I expect a very intense, almost playoff-like feel between those two. And it should be a really good game. We also have a Stanley Cup Finals rematch for that night between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars. Now, these two teams were supposed to play, last week or the week before, but because of the massive storms in Dallas, it ended up getting postponed. Now they finally get to play each other, and I cannot wait to see how this one goes. I believe they did play last night as well, and Tampa Bay absolutely destroyed them. So I would hope that Dallas would have a little bit more punch in their game here on Tuesday. But again, Stanley Cup final rematch from last year. teams in very different spots so far this year. Tampa Bay is right up near the top of the division. Dallas has really been struggling. So, expect the Stars to really kind of go out and push for some sort of big night on Tuesday because they desperately need it. Wednesday, March 3rd, we have the Capitals and the Bruins. Again, Boston's been slumping here recently. Washington trying to climb in the standings and take over. Well, I think they are in first place now because they won yesterday and Boston lost on Friday. So they're trying to hold on to first place. Boston does have games in hand, but there's no better way to make up ground in the standings than to beat the team that is literally ahead of you. So that'll be a big game at home for the Bruins. Bruins haven't played on home ice in a while because really their most recent home game was the Lake Tahoe game, and that was a week and a half ago now, and that was that was a week ago today. It will be a week and a half by the time we get to Wednesday, or at least thereabouts. And, that Lake Tahoe game wasn't actually a home game because they were at Lake Tahoe. So it hasn't been since last Thursday that Boston's actually played at the TD Garden. So they went almost 2 weeks without a true home game. Bruins will be happy to get back home in that one. And Washington, obviously, they're going to give the Bruins everything they've got. Minnesota and Vegas, they play again on Wednesday like they did on Monday. Everything I said about the first matchup applies to the second one. Minnesota's been really, really good recently, and Vegas is the top of that division, so a great test there for them. And then Toronto and Edmonton play again on Wednesday as well. Again, everything I said in the first matchup applies to this one. Hopefully Austin Matthews is back. I don't know if we're going to see him back or not, but I really would like him to play at least one of these games in this series because you want to see that Matthews versus McDavid matchup. But even if he's not able to, it's a great game, two offensive teams, and again, I expect the Oilers to be a lot better in these next two games than they were last night. Moving on now to Thursday, March 4th, we have the New York Rangers and the New Jersey Devils. These are two teams that are longtime rivals sitting outside of a playoff spot right now, desperately trying to pull themselves up into playoff contention. And this is going to be a huge game because they're going to have to, one of these two teams is going to have to pull ahead of the other if they're going to move up the standings. So it's a big one between the Rangers and the Devils, and then there's a lot of natural animosity between those two teams because they're such big rivals already, so that should be a really good one. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh play again on Thursday, and again, everything about the first matchup applies to the second. Battle of Pennsylvania, really, really good one. And then we have the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Chicago Blackhawks, and at the beginning of the year, if you told me that this was going to be a game of the week, I probably would look at you a little funny. Well, Chicago has blown my mind this season and been 1,000 times better than I thought they would be, which has them actually up competing for playoff positioning in the Central Division. And obviously Tampa Bay, one of the best teams in the league, up there fighting for first place, also in playoff position in the division. This turns out to be an absolutely huge matchup and very much a measuring stick for the Chicago Blackhawks to see how they fare against the best of the best in their division. Moving on to Friday the 5th, Washington and Boston play again. So everything about the first matchup applies to the second. It's just every time those teams play, it's awesome hockey, physical hockey, and there's a huge 2 points on the line as these teams fight for first place. Back-to-back situation for the Lightning and Blackhawks. They play right away on Friday. Again, and everything again, huge measuring stick matchup there for the Chicago Blackhawks to see if they're for real. And then we have the Minnesota Wild and the Arizona Coyotes. Minnesota, like I said about the Vegas matchup, has absolutely been on fire recently. Arizona's actually been better than I expected them to be this year. They're kind of trying to fight for that fourth playoff spot. So if the Coyotes are going to be in playoff contention and Minnesota is in a playoff spot right now, this becomes a pretty big matchup with some big points on the line. So that'll be an exciting one out west. And finally, that brings us to Saturday, March 6th. where once again the Rangers and the Devils play, and everything I said about the first matchup still applies. Great rivalry there, and two teams trying to pull into the playoff conversation. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh play again. They play 3 times this week. I mean, it's one of the best rivalries, so bring it on every single time. Going to be awesome. Back-to-back situation, the Wild and Coyotes play again on Saturday, so that will be a fun one. And then we get another installment of the Battle of Alberta. The Flames and the Oilers play on the 6th, and obviously they don't like each other very much and play massive games against each other because it's the Battle of Alberta. So there's your games of the week. Big week in the NHL. Obviously a lot of great matchups. Every night except for Tuesday had at least 3 matchups that I would call a game of the week. And Saturday obviously had 4. So this is a really good week for NHL hockey. There's a lot of great games to watch, and I will certainly be trying to watch as many of these as I can, and possibly stream as many of these as I can as well. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon merchandise store, donation link, and now memberships are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.